What's good, y'all? Tristan here, and today we are going to be going over 100 differences between America and Mexico. Since living in Mexico, I've been jotting down some differences I've noticed between it and the United States. And now I've been here for a little over 2 months. This is also my 5th time in Mexico. I've been to the big cities, been to Mexico City, Guadalajara, some of the more touristy towns like Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, Playa del Carmen, Tulum. I've also been in some smaller local towns, and I think that's really important because one thing I want to clarify before starting this video is there's a large difference between touristy Mexico and more local Mexico. So in this video, I will be including a couple differences that really only apply to the touristy areas, but overall, I'm trying to make most of these differences pretty universal to Mexico. That being said, let's get into this because, well, there are 100 of them and I gotta go a little bit quick because, well, there's 100 of them. The first difference between America and Mexico is that it is pretty common here to have 2 last names. You get your mother's last name and your father's last name. So, for example, my name is Tristan Ryan Kuhn. My mom's maiden name was Bratton, so if I was born in Mexico, my full name would probably be Tristan Ryan Kuhn Bratton. And that leads us to the second difference, which is that here in Mexico, women keep their last names when they get married. They keep their last names, men also keep their last names, and when they have kids, they get both the names, but then when that kid has kids, only the father's last name goes on to the next generation. Number 3, here in Mexico, they pump your gas for you at the gas station. Don't want to blow your mind too much, but they don't celebrate Cinco de Mayo here in Mexico. Cinco de Mayo is really an American holiday that's kind of been made by big companies so they can sell more beer. Here in Mexico, they don't really celebrate it. I was here for it. Nothing's going on. The only exception to that is if you're in the city of Puebla, they celebrate it, but that's the only city in all of Mexico. However, here in Mexico, they do celebrate the Day of the Dead. It's a big holiday here in Mexico, and not at all in the States. The 6th difference is that I've noticed it seems like every city, every town I've been to in Mexico, they all seem to be built around a square. Don't know why, but seems to be how they do it here. 7. If you want your laundry done here in Mexico, you're not gonna go to a laundromat and use the machine yourself and pay by the load. Here in Mexico, you go to a laundromat, they do all of it for you and you pay by the kilogram. So you give them all your clothes, they weigh it, and that's how much you pay. 8, shower drain covers. Pretty much every shower you'll see here will have a little cover on it like this. And the main reason for this is because here in Mexico, some critters might like to be living in those pipes, and when water comes down, they might wanna come up and hang out with you in your bathroom. So if you don't want any cockroaches in your bathroom, put that lid on. 9. Taxis here, they don't have a set price, they don't have a meter in them, so you kind of just got to negotiate with the driver before you get in the car. 10, you really need cash here. Some places in Mexico will only accept cash. So in the States, we have ice cream trucks. They're like these trucks that play music, go around, all the kids come and they get ice cream. Well, here they kind of have the same thing, but for like everything, like bread, water, pizza, I don't know, whatever you can imagine. They have cars here going around playing music, selling all sorts of stuff, but fun fact, you can tell what they're selling in that car based upon what's coming out of the speaker. Additionally, I've never seen this in the States, but it's kind of smart, is they do a lot of marketing through putting speakers on a car and driving around. So just a car, speakers on it, driving around the town, but those speakers are like blaring out an advertisement for, I don't know, like a circus or something. And 13 is they have a lot of what I call bike carts here. They sell like food or snacks, but it's pretty much just a guy on a bike who have a little horn that he's like honking as he drives around the city, but he'll have just a little thing on the front of his bike with, it's usually just one product, maybe 2, some sort of food, coconuts, pizza, whatever, and you can just buy it off his bike. 14 is there are so many chihuahuas here. Mexicans love their chihuahuas. Like, I swear, 1 in every 3 dogs I see is a chihuahua. 15, you can't drink the tap water. And 16, you buy tanks of natural gas for your house here. In the States, there's like pipes that lead to your house, and like however much you use, every month you have to pay that. Where here, if you ever run out of gas, it's like buying a big old propane tank kind of for your house. Also talking about houses, most of them here have a big old water tank on top because, they pump all the water up there and then let gravity do its work. I've noticed it's more popular to live in the same place where you work. It's not like everyone does this, but you'll see people who maybe they own a convenience store and then they live in the back of the convenience store. Or maybe they just live in their house, but they've kind of made like the front of their house a restaurant. Don't really see that much in the States. I've also noticed they sell lots of things in boxes or like cartons here. For example, like milk, always in boxes. You can find it like that in the States, but it's usually in a carton like this. Additionally, like spaghetti sauce, sold in boxes, and yeah, a lot of like liquidy stuff sold in boxes. Also, I've noticed a lot more things are sold at room temperature here. For example, eggs, sold at room temperature, milk, sold at room temperature, like salsa, also sold at room temperature. And 21, you have to negotiate a lot more here. Everything you buy here pretty much is negotiable. I mean, talk about the taxis, anything you buy in a touristy area, 100% negotiable. Price for different tours you might want to go on, negotiable. Also like rental cars, negotiable. Like literally everything. Like even like Airbnb rentals, you kind of negotiate with them. And something I found I think is kind of cool is if you're on a toll road, like taking a toll, and your car breaks down, they have free roadside assistance if your car breaks down on a toll. I believe the people that help you are called Green Angels, but that could vary depending on where you are. This next one is kind of like two things, but that is, so at first I was gonna say there are no crosswalk signs, like these signs in all of Mexico. Like at first when I was here, I was just noticing like everywhere I went, you just cross the road at your own risk. But then I went to Mexico City, and not only did they have those in Mexico City, they also at every single intersection, they have like officers like directing traffic for like telling people when you can cross and whatnot. Either way, both of those things are much different than the States. We don't have people telling you when to cross the street, and we also pretty much have those things at every intersection. We're here, like the only city I really saw them frequently was Guadalajara. Now real quick, let's talk about drugs. First off, drugs are so much cheaper here in Mexico. Not the type of drugs you're thinking like prescription medication. Now, this does apply more so just to touristy areas, but it is so easy to get like whatever drugs you want from a pharmacy or doctor. On the touristy streets especially, there will be pharmacies that are advertising like Cialis, Viagra, Adderall, like advertising drugs to you, and you go in there and there'll be a doctor or someone that can prescribe the drug just right there and write you whatever drug you want. You would never see that in the States. Now, talking about like real drugs, like illegal drugs, those are also way easier to get here in Mexico than any place I've ever been to. Not in all of Mexico, this is more a touristy thing, but I cannot walk down the street in Playa del Carmen without like 10 people asking me if I want weed or coke. Like it's just how it is. Especially if you're like young, guy, single, like someone who would probably do drugs, everyone's gonna be offering them to you.
Somehow I skipped over this one, but you can't flush the toilet paper down the toilet in all parts of Mexico.
Let's do a quick speed round. 28, they drive crazy here in Mexico. Crazy, like cutting people off, it's insane. 29, there are no stop signs here in Mexico. Like, there are some, but they're pretty rare to see, and if you do see one, no one stops. Like, don't stop at it because you'll literally get rear-ended if you stop at one. Stop signs here mean slow down, watch out, and try to cross the road before the car comes and hits you. 30, pretty much every single window of every single house here in Mexico has bars on it like this. 31, the beaches here have tons of food vendors, so you'll just be chilling on the beach and like every minute or two, someone will be coming by you with a cooler trying to offer you some food. Honestly, I kind of like it. Get to try some pretty cool stuff. 32, tacos. So, in America, a typical taco has tomato, lettuce, and cheese. Those are like the 3 traditional toppings. You will not see tacos like that in Mexico. Mexican tacos, I mean, tons of different varieties of them, but in general, it's probably gonna be more like cilantro and onion. Some toppings they sometimes use here, but I've like never seen in the States, is pineapple and cactus. Or not cactus, it's Nepal. It's the thing on their flag, cactus thing. Yeah, they put that on their tacos here sometimes, and it's worth trying. And last taco related thing, you're not gonna see any hard shell tacos like this in Mexico. Some other food stuff, spice. Dude, they crush the spice in Mexico. Food in America is not spicy at all compared to what it is like here. Mamey. Mamey is this delicious fruit here in Mexico that we just don't really have in the States. Coca-Cola does taste different here as it is made with real sugar cane. And another drink that is pretty common here is nectarine juice. You'll see it in pretty much any gas station, any convenience store, and grocery store. I don't think I've ever seen it in the States. Flavored water. They love their flavored waters here. It's not really a thing in the States, but it kind of looks like this. Number 40 is sauce in baggies. So if you're getting some sauce to go, in the States, they're gonna put it in a little container like this with a lid. However, here in Mexico, wrap it up in a bag, tie it up, works just as well, but just different. And now number 41, if you've watched some of my other 100 Differences videos, I literally put this in every single one, because I swear M&M McFlurries are different in every single country I go to. So in Mexico, how they do their M&M McFlurries is 1, with big M&Ms, not small. They don't have them mixed up, they're all just sitting on top. And 3, which is really cool, I wish you did this in the States, is they put chocolate syrup on top of their McFlurries. So yummy, but that's how they do them here. Now, regarding desserts, another thing that is a little bit different here is that fast food restaurants, particularly in like big cities, will have a separate section for desserts. So let's say you're downtown, you see an interest in going to McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, whatever, and then next to it you'll see another little booth, and it's just the desserts. So if you want an ice cream at the McDonald's, it's like a separate area than the actual main McDonald's. 43 is a bit of a joke here, but that is you can transport anything on a motorcycle. I swear to God, here in Mexico, you'll see the most ridiculous stuff being transported on a motorcycle. I saw a guy driving down the road with a full like 20-foot ladder on his motorcycle. You will see entire families riding one motorcycle. In the States, all you'll see is like 1 or 2 people, maybe a backpack. Also regarding riding in the back of trucks, it's not something you really see in the States. However, here in Mexico, see it every day. And 45 is sales tax. 1 is included in the price here, and 2, it is a federal sales tax, not a state sales tax. And 3, in the States, you know, it varies state to state, but it's always like around, it's usually around like 8%, 9%. Here in Mexico, it is 16%. Everywhere in the country, 16% sales tax. And 46 is building sizes. Things here in Mexico are a bit shorter and more spread out. The cities, you know, there's not many big skyscrapers here. Maybe a couple tall buildings, but they're really gonna stand out. Like there's not really a skyline. And 47 is more of a general observation, but some friends I've talked to, like, we all kind of agree on this, but that is girls here in Mexico seem to be a little bit more forward, a little bit more confident in their flirting with guys. You know, they might ask you to dance, they might be, you know, willing to take the first move. They're just not as scared to make that first move, where I think a lot of American girls wouldn't have that nerve. But that being said, when it comes to actual dating, things here in Mexico are much more formal. Like, you're more likely to, like, meet the parents early on. Another thing I see here in Mexico is there are a lot more stray dogs. And number 50 is there are a lot more archaeological phenomenons here in Mexico. Think of the Aztecs, think of the Mayans. They have tons of ruins here. Things have been excavated. There's a lot to show for their culture and old civilizations. Whereas in America, we also had native indigenous people, but we don't have any, I don't say proof, but like we don't have any big physical lasting pieces of their old civilization that are still around. Now in the States, you can only buy cigarettes by the pack. However, here you can buy cigarettes also by the individual cigarette, which I've heard from people who are trying to quit that is actually really helpful. Now, one thing about Mexico you're just gonna have to get used to if you're gonna be here for a long time is the culture of bribery. Whether it's explicit or not, it just seems on all levels, whether it's political, like police, or just general everyday work, there is some sort of a culture of bribery, or a lot of unsaid, like, I'll do this for you, you do this for me. For example, my dad worked in Mexico for 7 years, and the office that he had here, they had someone in that office whose job was to work with the government, just kind of make sure we're not stepping on your toes, you're not gonna step on mine. That doesn't really go on as much in the States. Now, the police here are very different than police in the States, so we got a couple things about them. The first is random searches, especially if you're a young guy like me in a touristy area. You were gonna get just randomly searched by the police for no reason. Me and pretty much every single friend I met here, if you're a young person walking on the streets after 11 p.m. and a cop sees you, 50% chance they're just gonna pull you over, search you for drugs, and if there's anything they find, they're either gonna make you pay them or take you to jail. Now that's the second difference, is talking about paying the police. Talked about bribery. Paying off police is just a big thing here. And it goes on so many levels. It could be bribing them like I talked about earlier, like, oh, I'll pay you, help me out in this certain way. But they'll also just pull you over for speeding or not speeding and just say you're speeding and then make you pay them money. Could be a legitimate reason, could be complete BS, but if you're a young single person here, probably gonna have to pay the police at some point. All right, next one is their big guns. They're just average police here look like a freaking SWAT team. They have these big old guns, they drive around in trucks. Like, I don't understand this, but I guess it's just how they show their force or presence in a city, is just to drive around in a truck with a big gun. There's also just way more police here. You'll see them everywhere. Matter of fact, this is how many police are in America and Mexico, but the US is way bigger. So per capita, there's about twice as many police in Mexico as there are in the States. Showing a strong presence seems to be a really important thing for the police here. So that's why another thing they do is at night, they just drive around with their lights on, just kind of so people know they're there. But I will say it is really scary when you're driving down at night and a police car will turn around the corner and drive behind you with his lights on, because yeah, he's not pulling you over, it's just what they're doing. But at first you think they're pulling you over. And the last thing about the police, I'm not gonna say this as a hardcore fact, but general allegation is they work a little bit more closely with the cartels or crime here in Mexico, whereas in the States, you're not gonna find many police officers working with any sort of underground operations. All right, number 60. So here in Mexico, they sip more so than mix their tequila. If they're gonna make a mixed drink with their tequila, it's gonna be like tequila and soda water. They're not gonna be making like tequila sunrises, or even margaritas aren't that common. It's really only for like maybe like a wedding or formal event where they have margaritas here. It's much more popular just to sip the tequila straight or put it in soda water. And in the States, no one's sipping it. And 61 is mezcal. It is super popular here in Mexico, about just as popular as tequila, and in the States it's like pretty uncommon, but it's just an alcoholic drink that tastes very similar to tequila, and yeah, we don't really have it much in the States. 62 is the States is way more diverse. I know Mexicans are gonna be saying, oh, Mexico's diverse too, and it is diverse, but comparatively, like, there's not many people of African descent, Middle Eastern descent, or Asian descent here in Mexico. All those groups are pretty well represented in the States. Additionally, here in Mexico, things are very family focused. I would say most people here put their family first and then their career second, where in the States, it's probably more common to put your career first and family second. In the States, we're mainly focused on just our immediate family, where here in Mexico, things are much more focused on the whole extended family. You'll see many generations living together here in Mexico, and frankly, it's pretty common for kids to stay with their parents like until they're like 30, like until you get married and kind of like very independent and married. you're probably just gonna stay with your parents. Now, something I see a lot here are these little speed bumps. They're just like our speed bumps that look like this, but there's, you know, they just put a little couple dots on the road. They work just as well. Speaking of bumps, that is something you gotta watch out for here in Mexico, because it is like impossible to text or be on your phone and walk here, because there are so many uneven surfaces, bumps, potholes, and you really just gotta watch your step when walking. Now, that's not the only reason why you have to watch your step while walking. Even if it is a perfectly good, smooth, like brand new sidewalk, you will still have to watch where you're walking, because they will put freaking trees right in the front of the sidewalks here. I don't get it. I swear, all the stuff I do in this video, none of it is biased to one side or the other. I'm just stating differences. But this one thing, guys, it makes no sense to me. You will just be walking on the sidewalk, and there are so many things right in the middle of your way. Most of the time it's trees. I mean, sometimes there's smaller, sometimes they're big, sometimes they literally take up the entire sidewalk and you have to walk on the road just to go around them. Sometimes you have to duck under them, sometimes it's not a tree, but it'll just be like random, I don't know, telephone poles or pipes that they just put right in the sidewalk. Sometimes they'll even put trees in the middle of their roads here. I don't get it. It is the one thing about Mexico that I just look at and I'm just like, I just don't understand. I don't get why do you put all these obstructions in the middle of your sidewalks? I love trees, I'm a tree guy, just take them out of the sidewalks. All right, next one. The weather here is incredible. Mexico is freaking huge, and the weather everywhere in Mexico is incredible. Imagine the weather in like California or Florida, and that's where it is like almost everywhere in Mexico. Sure, people are gonna say like, oh no, it gets hot here, it gets cold there. No, it doesn't. If you're local, you might think it gets hot or cold, but when you compare that to the States, cold here in Mexico is like t-shirt weather in America. Number 70 is the sports. So here in Mexico, soccer or football and lucha libre wrestling is much more common than in America. It's more, you know, American football, basketball, and the one sport that we do kind of share that's pretty common is baseball. Pretty common in both places. 71 is car washes. Car washes are so common here in Mexico. I swear there's a car wash every like 3 blocks. Like they're just as common as gas stations. But speaking of car washes, they all look like this. All car washes here are done by hand. It's like pretty much a parking lot with water and people to clean your car. Whereas car washes in America are almost always machines. You don't really see people actually cleaning your car often. 73 is tax on bottles. Some states do this in America, but it's a lot less of a tax than it is here. It's like, to buy a can like this, like a 40-ounce thing of beer, it's probably gonna cost you like 35, 40 pesos, but the bottle tax on it will be like usually around 7 pesos, but I've seen the tax go all the way up to 20 pesos. And 74 is here in Mexico, they run on Mexican time, meaning things might just be a little bit late, you know, it's just laid back, the bus you're waiting for, you might come 10, 15 minutes late. It's just kind of common here for things not to be quite as punctual. I'm sorry y'all, I might have to move. It is getting real windy and I think a storm is coming in. You see that? Look, there's a rainbow in the sky right here. How neat is that? All right, yeah, it's really coming down now. We gotta get under this covering. All right, 75, service is cheap, product is expensive. What I mean by this is just service things usually cost a lot less here than in the States, but products aren't necessarily a ton cheaper. I mean, they're cheaper, but relatively, the service here, much cheaper. Now, because service is so much cheaper here, it's a lot more common for middle-class families here in Mexico to have domestic houseworkers, to have a gardener, to have a landscaper, to have a nanny, have people like that help them out around the house. Additionally, lunch here is usually eaten a bit later. I say standard time for lunch is, I don't know, 1 to 2 or 2 to 4, I don't know, around there, usually not before 1, and it is pretty common for like the entire office to take a full hour, if not 2 hours off just for lunch. 78 is a lack of safety standards or regulation, which I actually don't think this is a bad thing at all. I like it in many ways, but I'm trying to think of examples of this. The best thing I can think of is like the Conectivo. It's kind of like a bus between 2 cities here. It'll let you off wherever you want, but when it lets you off, like they'll just leave you on the side of the highway. Like if you want to get to the other side of the highway, you gotta walk across the highway. There's a lot of things here like that that aren't really that dangerous, but in the States they'd be like deemed dangerous. Also regarding buses, you have to flag buses down here if you want them to stop for you. Just, you know, standing at the stop isn't enough. 80 is they have these like medium-sized grocery baskets here. I call them suitcase grocery carts like this, but in the States we only have like the really big grocery carts or like the little hand-held baskets. We don't have these medium-sized ones. 81 is whenever you're entering or leaving a convenience store, it's pretty common to have someone open the door for you. The reason why, those people aren't paid, but they are just wanting you to give them tips or something. In general, I've noticed there's a lot more of these unsolicited services in Mexico, some being much nicer than others. For example, sometimes there'll be people who play music in a restaurant and then ask for tips afterwards. But it's, you know, really nice to have some free music at the restaurant. But also there'll be people who like wipe your windshield twice while you're stopped at a red light and like don't even want them to do it, and then they'll demand money from you. 83 is America is more Protestant and Mexico is more Catholic. Markets here are a huge thing. There'll be markets that take up blocks and blocks and blocks, multiple stories, huge markets. In the States, a market in the States will be like on Saturdays in a parking lot with like 20 booths. Additionally, homeless people in the States are kind of like crazy a lot of times, like they're not all there in the head, whereas in Mexico the homeless people I've seen here seem to be people like completely normal, mentally with it people who are just actually like down on their luck. Now 86, I did a whole video exposing more of this, but animal sacrifice is still a practice that occurs in Mexico. 87, you'll see kids, like children, working here, which don't see that often in the States. 88 is they care about Christmas Eve a lot more here. Like here, they care more about Christmas Eve than Christmas. They'll have a big party, they'll have everyone over, they'll have a nice dinner, everyone hugs at midnight, it's like this big old thing. And Christmas is more of a day just to kind of lay around, hang out, be hungover, like, yeah, not as big as Christmas Eve. And then 89 is Mother's Day. Very different here than in the States. For one, it is way bigger. Like, it's a huge thing. People often take off work for it. Like, it's really common to like travel to a different city to visit your mom. Whereas in the States, a more common thing to do would be like, you know, give your mom a phone call or something. They really take it seriously here. Additionally, here is always on the 10th of May, where in the States, it's always on a Sunday around the 10th of May.
Again, don't know how I skipped over this one, but Mexico has a government-sponsored healthcare system.
All right, y'all, last 10 things. Number 91. Public colleges are totally free here. You do have to pay for private colleges, but something interesting about them is because you pay for them, here like anyone gets accepted into a private college. It's like as long as you're paying tuition, yeah, they'll let you in. So it's a lot more important if you go to a private college, like how well you do, your grades and whatnot, because employers are gonna look at that, you know, a lot more. 92, Doritos taste totally different here. I don't like them, but everyone seems to have a really strong opinion about them. It's like you love them or you hate them. There's no middle ground. 93, shoe polish stations, pretty common here, at least in the big cities. 94, playing in water fountains. This seems to be a common practice here in Mexico. Like, it's just common for kids to play in water fountains in the middle of cities. If you saw people playing in a fountain in America, people would look at you like, what the are you doing? Like, get out of that fountain. Like, that is not to be swimmed in. Talk about just different societal norms. Like, that is a norm. There's no rule about it, but that's a norm. In America, you just don't swim in public fountains. Here in Mexico, that's not a norm. Totally cool to hop in the fountains. Now 95, y'all, this is gonna be hyper controversial, so I saved it to the end, but that is, both countries have a totally different definition of what it means to be American. People who are from the United States call themselves Americans. We think being an American means to be a citizen of the United States of America. Well, many Mexicans, and really anyone from Central South America in general, a lot of people take a lot of offense to this. They think it's very ignorant and presumptuous of people from the United States to be calling themselves Americans, because they feel like all of them are also Americans. They're also from the Americas, North America, South America, Central America, and I'm gonna be very one-sided about this. You can fight me in the comments if you want, but there's no way you can call it offensive for Americans to call themselves American. The full name of Mexico is the United States of Mexico. The last word's Mexico, they call themselves Mexicans. The full name of the country I'm from is the United States of America. Last word America, Americans. Same thing. What are we supposed to call ourselves? Let's just say we call ourselves United Statesans or people from the United States. Would you say, oh, well, we're from the United States, we're from the United States of Mexico? Also, let's be honest, no one identifies as their big continent block. No one has ever been asked, where are you from? And they go, oh, I'm from Afro-Eurasia. Last ones, there are lots of ghost, spirit kind of superstitions. If you really search throughout Mexico, you'll be able to find lots of places that are like haunted or, you know, have spirits in them, whatnot. It seems to be a thing here that lots of people like to kind of, you know, play up or believe in. In Mexico, they use the metric system. In the States, we use the imperial system. So like feet, inches, meters, kilometers, Celsius, you know, all that stuff. All over the place here, they have these rubber mats on the floor for you to clean your feet before you enter in a place. Oftentimes there might be a little area where you get your feet wet and then go on the rubber. There might be like a rug or something in the States, but we definitely don't clean our feet as thoroughly as y'all do here. And then 98 is, here in Mexico, they seem to never fill your beer up all the way to the top. They leave it, you know, about an inch, 2 centimeters. In America, it is very important to fill that beer all the way to the very rim. Like, people get pissed off if you don't. That doesn't seem to be like something they do here. Same thing with shots. Now 99 is the drinking age, 18, 21. And then the last difference, the 100th difference between America and Mexico is that every single city in Mexico has these big old letters in it somewhere. It's a nice little uniform thing you'll see pretty much everywhere here in Mexico. These are not all the differences I've noticed between America and Mexico. If you want to see all the other differences I've noticed, you can check them out in that video right over there. Thank you all so much for watching, guys. Peace out.